feeling surrounded by danger. Psalm 91 reveals the protection you didn't know you had. There are moments when danger feels closer than safety, when the world around you seems unpredictable, and your heart beats a little faster because you sense threats you cannot name. You try to appear strong, but deep inside there is a quiet trembling, a fear that slips into your thoughts when the night grows still, or when one unexpected event shakes your confidence. You might feel as if something invisible is tightening around your peace, leaving you wondering if you are truly protected, or if you have been walking through life exposed and unguarded. What if the sense of danger you carry is not a sign of abandonment, but an invitation to discover the shelter you never realized was already embracing you? Psalm 91 speaks into the very places where fear tries to build its home. It calls to the heart that feels vulnerable and reminds it that there is a refuge capable of holding every uncertainty, every trembling thought, every quiet cry for safety. These ancient words open a door to a protection deeper than circumstances and stronger than any shadow. As we begin this journey, allow your heart to stay open. The truth waiting for you inside this psalm may shift the way you see your fears, your future, and the presence of God in your most fragile moments. There is a promise here that wants to meet you. There is a shelter you were never meant to face life without. Fear has a way of settling into the hidden corners of a person's life. It rarely enters loudly. It appears in small waves. A sudden tightness in the chest when you think about the future. A restless night spent turning over worries you cannot solve. A quiet sense that something could go wrong at any moment. Many people carry this weight silently, pretending everything is fine while their hearts feel like they are walking on thin ice. You might know the feeling well, that subtle dread that lingers even on peaceful days, as if danger could break through the calm without warning. It is exhausting to live this way. The mind becomes a constant scanner, searching for threats. Every unexpected message, every strange noise at night, every moment of uncertainty becomes a spark that ignites deeper anxiety. And while others may dismiss your fears, inside you feel the pressure of being the one who must protect yourself, your family, your path forward. Fear not only unsettles the mind, it isolates the heart. It whispers that you are alone, that you must stay alert because no one else is keeping watch. This struggle reaches beyond the physical world. There is an emotional side that is harder to explain. It is the feeling of being spiritually exposed, as if danger is not just around you, but also within the fragile parts of your soul. Moments of weakness become battles. Thoughts turn into storms. You start wondering if you have enough strength to face what life demands. And in these moments, vulnerability can feel like failure, even though it is simply part of being human. This inner turmoil is not a sign of spiritual weakness. It is a sign that the heart longs for safety. Every fear you carry is an echo of the deeper desire to be held, protected, guided. You were not created to live in constant tension. You were created to rest under a presence that watches over you, even when you cannot see it. The struggle is real, but it is not the end of the story. There is a voice in Scripture that speaks directly to this experience. It does not deny the reality of fear. It acknowledges the trembling heart and meets it with a promise stronger than the threats that surround you. Before diving into that promise, it is important to understand where it comes from, who first spoke these words, and why they still carry power today. To understand the power of Psalm 91, we need to step quietly into the world in which these words were first spoken. It was not a world free from danger. It was a world marked by uncertainty, illness, conflict, and the unpredictable turns of daily life. God's people lived with real threats pressing in from every side. They knew the weight of fear, and they understood what it meant to long for protection in a world that felt unstable. Psalm 91 was not written from a place of comfort. It was born from lived experience, from people who had walked through valleys of danger and discovered a presence strong enough to carry them. This psalm was likely used as a song of trust, spoken by those who stood on the edges of risk and needed to anchor their hearts in something greater than their circumstances. It was a reminder that God was not distant, not hidden behind the storms of life, but intimately involved with the fragile lives of his people. Every line carries the tone of someone who has seen God intervene, someone who has felt the difference between facing danger alone and facing it under divine protection. These words are not theoretical. They rise from the soil of human vulnerability and divine faithfulness. When ancient listeners heard these promises, they were not simply receiving poetry, they were receiving assurance. The imagery of shelter, shadow, wings, refuge, and fortress came from daily life. People understood what it meant to seek shade from the harsh desert sun, to rest under the cover of something stronger, to trust that certain places offered safety when the world outside felt threatening. God used images they knew well to reveal a truth they desperately needed. His presence could become the safest place they would ever stand. This psalm may have been spoken by a priest, a leader, or a person who had walked through danger and emerged with renewed faith. But its message was always directed to the people, to hearts that were tired, frightened, uncertain. It was meant to wrap them in assurance, reminding them that the God who had guided their ancestors through wilderness and war was the same God who still watched over them. The promises in Psalm 91 were not exclusive to a select few. They were invitations to anyone willing to take refuge in God's presence. Even today, the world has not changed as much as we might imagine. Our threats look different, but the human heart still trembles the same way. We still reach for security. We still long for reassurance. We still face moments when the weight of life presses on our chest and makes us wonder if we will make it through. And just like the people who first heard this psalm, we need to be reminded that God's protection is not a distant legend. It is a living promise. The context of Psalm 91 reveals something essential. These words were never meant to be used as a charm or a formula. They were meant to lead the heart into relationship, into trust, into a deeper surrender to the one who watches over every step. Understanding this prepares us to hear the psalm the way it was intended, not as a guarantee of a life without challenges, but as a declaration that God is present in every challenge we face. Now that we have stepped into the world behind the psalm, we can begin to explore its central message. The promises within these verses are unlike anything else in Scripture. They speak directly to the fears you carry, the questions you ask, and the burdens you never voice. They reveal a God who does not merely observe your life from a distance, but surrounds you with a protection deeper than you realize. Psalm 91 opens with a declaration so intimate and powerful that it reshapes the entire atmosphere around the soul. It begins by revealing that true safety does not come from circumstances, from control, or from human strength. It comes from dwelling in the shelter of the Most High, from choosing to anchor your life in the presence of God. This is not a distant place. It is not reserved for the spiritually elite. It is the quiet space where your heart leans into God's nearness, where trust becomes the ground beneath your feet. To dwell in His shelter is to let your spirit breathe under the certainty that you are held, watched over, and deeply known. The psalm then calls God a refuge and a fortress. A refuge is where you run when you feel exposed. A fortress is where you stand when danger presses in. Together, these words paint a picture of a God who meets you in your panic and strengthens you in your battles. He is the one who receives your vulnerability without judgment and offers His strength without hesitation. When fear tells you that you are alone, the psalm answers with a truth that breaks through every layer of anxiety. You are protected by the one who cannot be shaken. As the psalm unfolds, it speaks of deliverance from hidden traps, from threats that strike without warning, and from terrors that rise in the night. These images reflect the unpredictability of life, the moments when danger seems invisible, when anxiety feels irrational, when the soul trembles without understanding why. God does not dismiss these fears. Instead, He promises to be near them. He assures you that no shadow, no threat, no unseen danger escapes His attention. His protection reaches into places where your eyes cannot see, strengthening you when your understanding falls short. The psalm also speaks of God covering you with his wings. This is one of the most tender images in all of Scripture. It portrays God as the one who draws you close, as a parent sheltering a child against their chest. It speaks to your deepest need, not just safety, but closeness, not just survival, but comfort. To be under his wings is to rest where fear loses its grip, where your breathing slows, where your heart feels cradled in a love that does not waver. Then come the words about angelic protection, a promise that God assigns his messengers to guard your steps. This is not meant to create a mystical image, but to reveal a profound truth. You do not walk through life unaccompanied. There is help around you that you do not see, support that does not depend on your awareness, care that surrounds you even when you feel most vulnerable. God's protection is not passive. It is purposeful, active, and attentive. The psalm speaks boldly about danger falling away, about the destruction that will not reach you, about threats losing their power. These words are not meant to imply that life becomes free of hardship. Instead, they declare that nothing has the authority to undo the person who trusts in God. Fear may come, but it cannot define you. Trouble may appear, but it cannot control you. Darkness may rise, but it cannot claim you. God's presence places limits on what danger can do, boundaries around what fear can accomplish, and a shield over what the enemy intends. Toward the end of the psalm, God himself speaks. It is no longer the voice of the writer, but the voice of the Almighty promising, "I will rescue, I will protect, I will answer, I will be with them in trouble." These are not distant assurances. They are personal. They are spoken directly to the one who loves him, who trusts him, who calls upon his name. God's promises here are not abstract truths. They are commitments. They reveal a God who steps into the very places where fear tries to gain control and declares that his presence is stronger. The heart of Psalm 91 is this: you are not abandoned to navigate danger on your own. You are not left to face the storms of life without shelter. God surrounds you with a protection you often do not see but deeply need. His faithfulness becomes your shield, his presence your safety, his promise your grounding place. You may feel fragile, but you are covered. You may feel overwhelmed, but you are not unguarded. Every verse invites you to loosen your grip on fear and take hold of the one who watches over you with unwavering care. Now that the psalm has opened its meaning, the next step is understanding how these promises move from ancient poetry into the fabric of daily life. Knowing that God protects you is powerful, but learning how to live inside that protection changes everything. The promises of Psalm 91 are not meant to remain distant words written long ago. They are invitations meant to shape the way you walk through your ordinary days, especially when fear tries to take hold of your heart. In a world overflowing with noise, pressure, and uncertainty, learning how to dwell in the shelter of God becomes a daily practice, not a one-time moment of inspiration. It begins with the posture of your heart, the quiet decision each morning to root yourself not in your own strength, but in the steady presence of the one who guards your path. You may wake up carrying worries that follow you like shadows. You step into responsibilities that feel heavier than your shoulders can bear. You scroll through headlines that stir anxiety, and you face personal battles that threaten your peace. Psalm 91 invites you to pause in these moments and remember that you are not facing any of this alone. God's protection is not a distant concept. It is a presence that meets you in the very spaces where fear tries to claim control. When you breathe deeply and whisper a simple prayer of trust, you are already taking refuge in Him. Living under God's shelter often begins with awareness. It means noticing the moments when your thoughts become tense, when your heart begins to race, when you feel the urge to brace yourself against imagined dangers. Instead of letting fear spiral, you gently redirect your attention toward God. You remind yourself that you are held. You speak even a single line from the psalm to steady your heart. A simple phrase, like "You are my refuge," can interrupt the rising tide of anxiety and bring your emotions back to center. One powerful way to practice God's protection is to create small rhythms throughout your day that bring your heart back to rest. When you start your morning, you can take a slow breath and consciously place your day under God's wings. When you step into a stressful conversation, you can silently ask for His covering. When night approaches and the world grows quiet, you can entrust your home, your family, and your thoughts to the God who neither sleeps nor loses sight of you. These simple habits become spiritual anchors that keep you grounded when life feels unpredictable. Another way to live out Psalm 91 is by recognizing that God's protection is not only about shielding you from danger, it is also about strengthening you within it. You may face challenges you did not choose, moments of loss, unexpected disruptions, or seasons of waiting that stretch your spirit thin. In these times, God's protection becomes the courage to keep going, the clarity to take the next step, and the peace that keeps your heart from collapsing under the weight of uncertainty. His shelter is both a place of rest and a source of resilience. In moments when fear feels overwhelming, you can practice something as simple as placing your hand over your heart and speaking truth softly, allowing it to settle into the places where your anxiety gathers. You remind yourself that God is not watching you from a distance. He is with you, as close as your breath, surrounding you with a presence stronger than what threatens you. This act shifts your focus from the danger around you to the God who walks beside you. Psalm 91 also invites you to pay attention to how God shows His care in the subtle details of your life. Sometimes He protects you by redirecting your steps. Sometimes He shields your heart through the encouragement of someone who cares. Sometimes His protection appears in the peace you feel during a moment that would normally unsettle you. Learning to notice these moments builds trust, reminding you that His hands have been guiding you in ways you did not always see. Applying this psalm to modern life does not mean pretending that fear no longer exists. It means refusing to let fear have the final word. It means walking through your days with the quiet assurance that even when the world feels unstable, your soul is not without a place to rest. God's shelter becomes the atmosphere around your heart. His faithfulness becomes your grounding place. His presence becomes the space where your spirit can breathe again. In a world that often demands you carry more than you were meant to hold, the promises of Psalm 91 offer a different path. They invite you to release your grip on constant control, to step back from the exhausting need to protect yourself at every moment, and to rest in the one who knows your vulnerabilities and guards them with infinite care. When you begin to live this way, fear loses its power. Anxiety loosens its hold. Your heart finds strength in God's nearness, and your life begins to reflect the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are deeply protected. With these practices shaping your days, you are ready to explore another layer of this psalm, one that speaks to the emotional patterns behind fear and reveals how God's protection interacts with the inner world of your thoughts and feelings. Fear does not only live in the mind, it settles into the body, shaping the way you breathe, the way you react, the way you interpret the world around you. When a person feels unsafe, even without a clear reason, the nervous system becomes alert, scanning every moment for potential danger. This constant state of vigilance drains the heart. It creates tension in the shoulders, restlessness in the chest, and a quiet uneasiness that follows you from morning to night. Many people assume this is simply part of life, but Scripture speaks into these inner reactions with surprising tenderness. Psalm 91 does more than promise protection. It gently retrains the heart to recognize where safety truly comes from. When you turn your attention toward God as your refuge, something profound happens inside you. The body begins to soften, the breath deepens, the mind loosens its grip on worst-case scenarios. Trust becomes a form of emotional grounding, a steadying force that brings your thoughts back from the edge. You are not just repeating a verse, you are giving your nervous system a new anchor, teaching your inner world to rest in a faithful presence rather than in imagined threats. Modern understanding of fear tells us that anxiety often grows when the mind feels alone. Danger feels more threatening when you believe you must handle everything by yourself. Yet this psalm answers that loneliness with companionship. It reminds you that someone greater stands beside you, watching over your steps, surrounding you even when you cannot feel it. This awareness reduces the mind's urgency to stay in constant defense. The burden of being your own protector begins to lift, replaced by the assurance that you are not walking through life unguarded. There is a simple shift that brings profound peace, moving from self-reliance to shared burden. When you whisper a phrase from the psalm in a moment of tension, something quiet opens inside you. It is the space where fear loses some of its authority. You are not denying your emotions. You are acknowledging them while choosing to rest in a truth deeper than what your fear suggests. This is not positive thinking. It is spiritual grounding. It is the mind remembering that it does not need to carry the world on its own. Emotional resilience grows when the heart feels supported. Psalm 91 offers that support in language that embraces both the spirit and the emotions. When you meditate on its promises, your inner world begins to shift from survival mode to trust. You are able to step back and see your thoughts more clearly. You begin to differentiate between true danger and imagined threat. You learn to respond rather than react. This clarity becomes a quiet gift from God, given through His presence, His promises, and His unchanging love. Fear may still visit, but it no longer has the same power. Anxiety may still whisper, but its voice becomes less convincing. When God becomes your shelter, your emotional world learns a new pattern, one shaped not by panic but by peace. This is the beginning of transformation, where the promises of Psalm 91 start moving from the mind into the deepest parts of your being. With this understanding, you are ready to step into the next stage of the journey, where we explore the deeper transformation that unfolds when you truly embrace the protection and presence of God. When a person begins to live under the shelter described in Psalm 91, the change is not sudden or dramatic. It is quiet, steady, and deeply personal. Transformation often begins with a single moment when the heart realizes it no longer has to fight every battle alone. This awareness softens something inside you. A weight you have carried for years begins to loosen its hold. Fear does not vanish overnight, but it no longer dictates the rhythm of your days. Instead of waking with a sense of dread, you start to sense that you are being guided, that every step is watched over, that you no longer walk through life exposed. As trust deepens, the heart becomes less reactive. Situations that once triggered anxiety lose some of their intensity. You find yourself breathing more peacefully, responding more thoughtfully, and seeing challenges through a different lens. God's protection becomes a lived reality rather than an abstract idea. You notice moments of peace that arrive unexpectedly, times when you feel strengthened in ways you cannot fully explain, and gentle reminders that you are not navigating your struggles alone. These are signs of God shaping your inner world, reinforcing your spirit with His presence. This transformation also touches the way you see yourself. Fear often convinces you that you are fragile, vulnerable, and easily broken. But as Psalm 91 takes root in your heart, your identity begins to shift. You no longer see yourself as someone barely surviving, but as someone held by a God who stands firm. Your weaknesses no longer feel like threats. Instead, they become spaces where God's strength is revealed. The storms around you may continue, but they no longer determine who you are. Your confidence grows, not in your own abilities, but in the one who guards your steps. You may also notice a new steadiness in how you face uncertainty. Instead of imagining every possible danger, you begin to trust that God is already in the places you have not yet reached. The future becomes less intimidating because you believe the one who walks with you today will walk with you tomorrow. This trust does not remove every hardship, but it transforms your relationship with hardship. You face challenges with a heart anchored in divine protection, not paralyzed by fear. One of the most beautiful signs of transformation is the emergence of peace where there once was tension. This peace is not denial. It is not pretending everything is perfect. It is the quiet assurance that you are covered, that you are guided, that you are loved beyond measure. This peace shapes your thoughts, your decisions, and the atmosphere around you. People may notice that you carry yourself differently, that your presence brings calm instead of worry, strength instead of tension. The more you lean into the promises of Psalm 91, the more you experience this shift. Fear loses its authority. Anxiety loses its urgency. You become someone who moves through life with a deeper confidence. Someone who rests in the truth that God's protection is not an idea, but a reality unfolding around you. And as this transformation continues, you begin to understand that the greatest gift of Psalm 91 is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of God in every moment. With your heart prepared, we now move to a moment of prayer, where these truths can settle even deeper into your spirit and guide you forward with renewed strength. Holy God, I lift up every heart listening right now. You see the fears they carry, the worries they rarely speak, and the weight that is pressed against their peace. Draw them beneath your shelter. Surround them with the quiet certainty that your presence is stronger than every shadow that tries to touch their lives. Let them feel the safety of your wings, the nearness of your love, and the steadiness of your protection. Where their thoughts have been restless, breathe calm into their minds. Where their emotions have been tense, release what they have been holding. Where their hearts have felt exposed, wrap them in the confidence that you are their refuge. Strengthen the one who feels tired. Comfort the one who feels anxious. Lift up the one who is afraid of tomorrow. Remind them that you are with them in every step they take, both in the light and in the darkness. Restore their courage. Renew their trust. Let them sense, even now, that their life rests in hands that cannot fail. May Psalm 91 become a living promise within them, shaping their days with peace and filling their nights with reassurance. Teach them to walk with a heart anchored in your presence, protected, guided, and deeply loved. If this prayer spoke to your heart, I invite you to share in the comments what part of this psalm comforts you most. Your words may encourage someone who needs hope today. And if you want to continue receiving reflections and prayers rooted in Scripture, you are welcome to subscribe and stay close to this community. May God bless you, guard you, and lead you into a new season of peace and confidence.